I call the meeting of the San Juan Unified School District Board of Education to order. The closed session items on tonight's agenda are item 1, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9, subdivision D, paragraph 1 in 2 cases. Magali Kincaid, Benito Juarez Neighborhood Association, Neighborhood Elections Now, Juan Iniguez, Carolina Flores, Damaris Canton versus San Juan Unified School District, complaint for violation of the California Voting Rights Act, and in the alternative, for violation of the Voting Rights Act of 1965 and the California Constitution, Sacramento Superior Court case number 34202000286475, and Carolina Flores Neighborhood Elections Now petitioners versus San Juan Unified School District, Paula Viescas in her official capacity of board president, respondents, verified petition for writ of mandate pursuant to the First Amendment, the California Constitution, California Public Records Act, and the Ralph M. Brown Act, and complaint for declaratory and injunctive relief, Sacramento Superior Court number 34202180003644 CU WMGDS. I'm going to check with staff to see if we have any speaker cards on this closed session agenda item. We do not. Do we have any written comments submitted on this item? We do not. We will now move into closed session and we will return to open session at 6:30. I call the meeting of the San Juan Unified School District Board of Education back to order. Board meetings are now being held in person in the boardroom at the district office, and the public is welcome to attend. Thank you all who have joined us. Alternatively, the meeting may also be viewed on the district's YouTube channel where it is being live streamed. The meeting is being audio and video recorded, and the recording may capture sounds and images of those attending this meeting. The recording will be posted on the district website. At this moment, I invite you to please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening and welcome. I'm Paula Viescas and I am the board president. And to my right is Dr. Michael McKibben, board vice president. To his right is Ms. Zima Creason, board clerk. To her right is Ms. Pam Costa, board member. Board member Saul Fernandez has a family obligation and is joining us by telephone. Mr. Hernandez, can you confirm that you can hear us?
I can. Thank you very much.
Perfect. We can hear you as well. To my left is Superintendent Kent Kern, and to his left is Board Administrative Assistant Stephanie Cunningham. Before we begin, I'd like to remind the public that tonight is a special meeting of the Board of Education, and public comment is only accepted regarding items that are listed on tonight's agenda. But we do appreciate your input and want to hear from you. If you wish to offer a general visitor comment regarding a topic that is not on tonight's agenda, you can offer a comment at a future regular board meeting, and our next regular board meeting is scheduled for August 10th. Now I'd like to review the 2 methods that are available to offer public comment for tonight's meeting. For those of you here in attendance in person, I'd like and would like to offer public comment on items that are on the agenda. We ask that you please complete a speaker card that is available by the door. I'll ask Mary to raise her hand. Perfect, thank you. And you will be called on at the appropriate time during the agenda. We ask that you please indicate on the speaker card at that time if you need any translation services as well. The second option is to submit a public comment online using the comment form located on the district website at www.sanjuan.edu/board-meeting. If you wish to submit a public comment on more than one agenda item, please submit a separate form for each item on which you are commenting. For this special meeting, all written comments received through the public comment form will be read on the record during the meeting, subject to the time limits established in Board Bylaw 9323. Comments may only be submitted on an agenda item up until the time the agenda item has been discussed. Please note that all public comments are subject to a 2-minute limit or approximately 1,500 characters. It is the board's interest to consider all comments. If you are using an interpreter or self-translating your comment, we ask that translations be given as the comment is shared. Those who have indicated a need for translation when making their request to speak may be provided an additional 2 minutes to allow for translation of their original 2-minute comment. With that, we are now at item D, approval of the minutes. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Is there a motion to approve the minutes for July 1st? It has been moved by Dr. McKibben. Is there a second? It's been seconded by Ms. Creason. We will be doing a roll call vote this evening. So Mr. Hernandez, I'm going to take a vote on the approval of the minutes. Mr. Hernandez.
Yes.
Ms. Costa. Ms. Creason. Dr. McKibben. And I vote aye. That was unanimous. We are at item E1, our closed session expulsion actions, and there are no closed session actions to report. So with that, we are at item F, the consent calendar. I'm going to pause quickly to see, do we have any speaker cards or written comments on this item?
No, we do not.
Okay. Do any board members wish to remove any items from the consent calendar? Mr. Hernandez?
No.
Great. Okay. With that, is there a motion to approve the consent calendar? It's been moved by Ms. Costa. Is there a second? Seconded by Dr. McKibben. Again, we will do a roll call vote on the consent calendar, and the motion is to approve the consent calendar. Mr. Hernandez?
Yes.
Ms. Costa? Ms. Creason? Dr. McKibben? And I vote aye. That was unanimous. We are now at item H1, California Voting Rights Act Public Hearing, MAP Review Public Hearing number 1. Ms. Simlick.
Thank you, and good evening, President Velasquez, board members, Superintendent Kern, and Ms. Cunningham. This evening, the superintendent is recommending that the board hold a public hearing regarding the proposed maps for potential composition of trustee areas. Prior to the public hearing, demographer Larry Furchaw from Cooperative Strategies will present drafts of proposed trustee area boundary maps. Following his presentation and any comments or questions by the board to Mr. Furchaw, the public hearing will be held for the board to receive input from the community on the proposed trustee area maps. As the board might recall, Mr. Furchaw presented information to the board on March 31st, 2020 on the process and potential criteria for the drawing of the trustee area maps. I would like to again introduce Mr. Furchaw at this time.
Thank you. Members of the board, Superintendent Kern, Larry Furchaw. It's good not to be a little square on a screen this time around. It's been a little while. So the presentation we have, hopefully that's going to come up on the screen, is to walk through just all of the map options that have been posted to the district's website for the last week as required under the elections code. You'll note we have 8 different map options. 4 of which have 5 trustee areas and 4 of which have 7 trustee areas. So we have a variety of options to go through. Just bring that presentation up. Just a reminder on the timeline that we're working under. This is our first public hearing on the map scenarios. After tonight's hearing, we'll have an opportunity, if there's any comments or suggestions for changes, to make those changes. And sorry.
It should be displayed momentarily.
I'm used to being on Zoom, not. All right, so there we go. There's the timeline. So recall the public hearings that we've held on the maps prior to drawing them. The maps, again, have been posted since last week on the 6th for members of the community to review. Tonight's public hearing to introduce those maps and get feedback from the board and the community on potential changes. We'll revise those scenarios as necessary, come up with new maps as necessary, and those will get posted to the district's website by a week from today. And then we're scheduled for July 27th to hold another hearing on the maps, and that would be the board's opportunity to select a map and finalize its process of moving from at-large to by-area method of election. You'll see we also have noted that new census data is going to become available. We're using the 2010 census data still because that's all that's available, but sometime between now and October, we'll have updated data with which to adjust these maps prior to the 2022 election. So that's just the process again. And we have the first set of scenarios are the 5 trustee area scenarios. So we can go ahead and go to scenario 1. There we go. Kind of walk you through the layout of the maps and spend a little bit more time on the first one to explain it, and then we'll pick up the pace as we go through the remaining 7 of them. So in all of the maps that are 5 areas, area 1 is yellow, 2 is green, 3 is blue, 3 is red, 4 is blue, and 5 is purple. So you'll see those color codes on the maps as well as in the legend in the upper left-hand corner of the screen that identifies the trustee area number. The board members' residences are noted on these maps just for informational purposes. They were not considered in the drawing of the areas as the board had instructed. So these are just on there just so we know where folks reside and helps on the sequencing aspects as well. So next to each board member's name is a notation of when that board member's term is up. So we understand that process as well. We've noted the high schools on the map so you can see which facilities are in which of the trustee areas. And then in the lower right-hand corner, you see sequencing options. Because we have situations where we have board members, incumbent board members who are paired in one area, we have open areas that we have to cycle for election. And so there's different options of how we can do that. So you'll see in some of these scenarios, there's 2 or 3 different sequencing options that are noted with a letter. So A, B, or C is the most we have. And some we have only one option for sequencing. And it just depends on how the board pairings work and where those occur. So in scenario 1, we have 2 sequencing options. Either areas 1 and 5 would be up for election in 2022, or areas 4 and 5 would be up for election in 2022. And that would be part of the board's decision on a map like this. If this were the map that the board would select, the board would pick a map and then also a sequencing option to go with that map for approval. As far as the areas served, you can see that in area 1, we start off in the Arden Arcade area and work our way up into North Highlands, area 2 being the other part of Arden Arcade and coming into Carmichael, area 3 being the rest of North Highlands, Fair Oaks, Citrus Heights, and a little bit of Carmichael left over, area 4 in Fair Oaks, Gold River, and some of Citrus Heights, and then area 5 being the remainder of Citrus Heights and Orangevale. Noted all the major roads, or most of the major roads. It would be virtually impossible to label all the streets on these type of maps. So if that's an interest, we can certainly produce larger scale maps that can get posted to the website that would list all the streets. That's just the general layout of this particular scenario. So this is scenario 1. And then we can go to the next slide. This is the wall of numbers slide, and I'll highlight what is important or what we like to focus on in these maps is in this process, we're first looking for population balance so that the difference between the largest and smallest areas is within our 10% variance. And I won't spoil the surprise by telling you that all the maps we produced are within that legal requirement of population balance. So you don't have to do the math for us there. The other thing that we're looking at, are there anything we can do to enhance the ability of members of protected classes as defined under the Federal Voting Rights Act to be able to influence the outcome of elections. And conversely, we're not doing anything to inhibit members of protected classes from being able to influence the outcome of elections. So we look at the citizen voting age population, which is helpfully abbreviated as CVAP, to see what areas are we creating increased influence for members of protected classes. And so if we look at scenario 1 and we look at trustee area 1, again, remember that's the yellow area on the western side of the district, we see that our Hispanic Latino population on citizen voting age population is about 17.5%, which is about 5 percentage points larger than the district-wide average. The African-American population in that trustee area is 12.75%, which is about 7 percentage points higher than the district average. And then the Asian population is at 6 2/3%, which is about 2 percentage points higher than the district average. So we're seeing areas of increased influence for members of protected classes. What we're not seeing in this scenario or any of the maps that we've produced is a majority minority district. So we're not able to create an area where a majority of the citizen voting age population consists of protected classes. Given the population of the district, the dispersion of the population, it's not possible to create an area where a majority of the residents would be a protected class, one in particular, or even grouped together. It's just the nature of the demographics of this district that we don't see a real high concentration area for any particular protected classes within the district. So you'll see varying degrees of increase throughout the remaining 7 scenarios, but just wanted to lay that out at the beginning that we aren't able to create a majority Latino district, a majority African-American district, or a majority Asian district through this process. So we can go to the next one, which is scenario 2. I often flip back and forth to see what's the difference between them because they start blending into one. But you can recall back that 1 and 2 kind of went kind of a diagonal east-west between areas 1 and 2 in the Arden Arcade, North Highlands area. In scenario 2, it's more of a north-south divide that you can see there. So that's one of the differences there. So it's mostly Arden Arcade, the portion of the city of Sacramento that's within the district, and some of Carmichael that are in area 1, area 2, the northern part of Arden Arcade, all of North Highlands is in that particular area, and then portions of Carmichael as well. Area 3 would be the rest of Carmichael, the majority of Fair Oaks, Gold River, portions of Orangevale, and a little bit of Citrus Heights works its way into area 3. Area 4 is about half of Citrus Heights, and Orangevale, and then scenario 5 is the remainder of Citrus Heights and Orangevale. You'll see on this one, there's only one sequencing option that we've laid out based on where board members reside. There's only one uninhabited area by a current board member, so there's only one sequencing option for this particular map. We can go to the next slide, which is the demographic information. We can see the Latino population on citizen voting age population in area 1 is a little bit lower, 14.92, still above the district average, but not quite as high as scenario 1. And you can see the population for the African-American at 9%, again, not quite as high, where we were at 12% in scenario 1. And the Asian population a little bit higher than scenario 1 at 6.94%. So, when you look at the difference between the two, the way scenario 1, area 1, just captures a little bit more of the African-American and Latino citizen voting age population, just the way that community is oriented in the way that area 1 is formed in scenario 1 versus that north-south divide that we see in scenario 2. Okay. So number 3, again, we have that north-south look to scenarios 1 and 2. A little bit cleaner of a line between the two, a little less jagged as you go across there. So that's part of the difference that you see. So again, southern half of Arden Arcade, and then some of the city of Sacramento and Carmichael are in area 1. Area 2 would be the northern half of Arden Arcade, all of North Highlands, the rest of Carmichael, or some of Carmichael. And then area 3 is mostly Carmichael, most of Carmichael, and then portions of Fair Oaks, Citrus Heights as well, a portion of Citrus Heights south of Greenback Lane. Area 4 would be the majority of Fair Oaks, all of Gold River, Orangevale, and a little bit of Citrus Heights. And then area 5 is just Citrus Heights. So this one does a little bit more of a looking at communities and of cities and census designated places and keeping those together. It does create one area that's entirely Citrus Heights. Obviously, Citrus Heights is too large to be one trustee area, so it does still get divided, but this does create Area 5 as just a Citrus Heights trustee area, for example. And then all of the unincorporated communities on the eastern side are all within one trustee area. So that's one of the features of this particular map. You can see we have sequencing options A and B on this one, with either 1 and 4 in 2022 or 4 and 5 in 2022 as the two options that we've outlined here based on where incumbents reside and what areas are open. And then the numbers on this one, Area 1 again would be the area to focus on for citizen voting age population. 15.41% Latino citizen voting age population. Again, that's a little bit higher than scenario 2, not quite as high as scenario 1. And then you can see the African-American population is actually a little bit larger in area 2 in this particular map, but still both above the district average between those two. And then the Asian population is at its highest in area 1 at 7%. Number 4. Scroll through my notes here. This is area 1 again, starting kind of the geography of this gets pretty similar, right? We start in the west and move east. But you can see that squarish shape of area 1 representing Arden Arcade and city of Sacramento that's within the district. Area 2 being the remainder of Arden Arcade, all of North Highlands, and portions of Carmichael, as well as, and then area 3 would be the remainder of Carmichael and the majority of Fair Oaks and Gold River. Area 4 would be Fair Oaks, all of Orangevale, and portions of Citrus Heights. And then area 5 would be Citrus Heights in that particular map. And only one option on this one in terms of sequencing, with areas 4 and 5 in 2022 and 1, 2, and 3 in 2024. Numbers on that. 16.22% in area 1 for Latino citizen voting age population, 9.6 and 6.98 for Asian and African American citizen voting age population. So higher than area scenarios 2 and 3, but still not quite as high as scenario 1 in terms of our Latino citizen voting age and African American citizen voting age concentration in area 1 in the western area. So that is the sprint through the first 4 options. And we can go to the next one. So this introduces the 7 trustee area scenario options. And we introduced 2 new colors to the mix as well. So 1 through 5 would remain the same color coding system. And then I'm terrible at identifying colors. We'll say area 6 is gold and area 7 is aqua. I was never good at that in kindergarten. So again, starting in the west and working our way east has been the standard approach. So we have the Arden Arcade area west of Watt, south of Marconi in area 1, as well as a portion of the city of Sacramento. Area 2 then is the northern part of Arden Arcade, all of North Highlands and portion of Carmichael. Area 3 would be the area portion of Arden Arcade that is east of Watt, as well as portions of Carmichael. Area 4, still a little bit of Carmichael left, and we put that in area 4, along with Fair Oaks, the portion of Fair Oaks that's west of Sunrise Boulevard, and a southeast portion of the city of Citrus Heights. 5 would be the most of Fair Oaks, all of Gold River, and portions of Orangevale and Citrus Heights. 6 would be the majority of Orangevale and a little bit of Citrus Heights. And area 7 would be the northern part of Orangevale and the rest of Citrus Heights. Only one sequencing option on this one. You can see there 1, 5, 6, and 7 in 2022 and 2, 3, and 4 in 2024. And in terms of the numbers, 18.47% Latino citizen voting age population in area 1, 12.72% African American, and 8% Asian population in area 1. Just comparing that to our previous high water marks, This is just a little bit above. By going to 7 areas, we're able to obviously make a little bit smaller of an area, and that allows for a little bit more concentration of the communities. And so you can see the citizen voting age population numbers increase slightly by going to 7 areas by about a percentage point for the Latino population, virtually the same for the African American population, and about a percentage and a half point more for the Asian population in area 1 by using 7 areas instead of 5. Those are just minor increases, but increases to point out nonetheless. You can see across the others, they're pretty much the same, right at the district average. Some are a little bit below the district average when we go to 7 areas. So that's that slide. Go on to scenario 2 then. Okay. So in this one, we decided to make my life hard and flip the green and the yellow. So in the yellow area, 1 would be the northern part of Arden Arcade, and then going into North Highlands. Area 2 would be the southern part of Arden Arcade and the portions of the city of Sacramento. Area 3 would be the eastern parts of Arden Arcade, going into Carmichael and into Fair Oaks as well. 4 would be the northern portion of Carmichael. Again, that's the blue area around Del Campo High School. And then a small portion of Fair Oaks and the southern part of Citrus Heights. 5 is all of Fair Oaks that's east of Sunrise, all of Gold River, portions of Orangevale and Citrus Heights. And then we have Trustee Area 6, which is the gold area, which would be Citrus Heights, and then Area 7, which would be Citrus Heights and Orangevale. I think I got that all. Only one sequencing option here, and that's areas 3, 5, 6, and 7 in 2022, and areas 1, 2, and 4 in 2024. And if I'm not mistaken, this scenario is unique in one factor. Just double checking my notes here. This is the only one where all 5 board members miraculously appear in their own area across all 8 options. Nope, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's correct. So just so happened that we have one scenario where that happened. Again, wasn't on purpose. If it was on purpose, we would have done a better job than some of the other maps, I'm sure. So just wanted to point out that feature to you. Numbers on scenario 2. You can see we have 2 areas then, areas 1 and 2, where our Latino citizen voting age population is a couple percentage points above the district average at 15 and 16%. Our African American population in areas 1 and 2, 9.5 and 10.6. So increases above the district average, and it's kind of taking 2 smaller increases above the district average in adjacent trustee areas, as opposed to scenario 1, where we push that number up higher in just area 1. Similar when the Asian citizen voting age population, where the number is higher in both areas 1 and 2, area 2 being a little bit higher at 7.44%. Okay. Scenario 3 then, and you'll see scenario 3 and 4 start out the same as scenario 1. Area 1 in yellow finds a home that is south of Marconi and west of Watt. That's something we seem to have liked as we were creating these maps as a logical area to try to increase that citizen voting age population that you saw in scenario 1. And then area 2 in scenario 3 is the northern part of Arden Arcade, North Highlands, and a little bit of Carmichael. And then area 3 is kind of centered around a good portion of Carmichael, portion of Fair Oaks, and some of Citrus. No, it doesn't make sense. I'm reading my notes that are not accurate. So I'm going to go based on my knowledge and say that's going to be Carmichael and Arden Arcade. And then area 4 is coming around to be the rest of Carmichael, as well as the southern part of Citrus Heights. Area 5 would be Citrus Heights and Orangevale. Area 6, Gold River and Orangevale, and 7 would be Citrus Heights and maybe a portion of Orangevale in there as well. You can see here, because we have some pairings of board members, we have 3 different sequencing options. We have A, B, and C. would be up for the board to decide which sequencing option to go with this particular map. But 1, 3, 5, so we have the option A is the evens and the odds. Option B is 1, 3, 5, 6, 2, 4, and 7, and then C is 3, 5, 6, 7, and 1, 2, and 4. So that's how those are sequenced. And then the numbers, again, we'll just highlight that Area 1, like in Scenario 1, continues to be the highest Latino, African American, and Asian citizen voting age population areas. And finally, Scenario 4. Again, Area 1 is the same in this one. Area 2 wraps it around Area 1 to take in the eastern half of Arden Arcade as well as the northern part. And going into North Highlands, Area 3, I'm sorry, would be the eastern half of Carmichael, Fair Oaks, and that area. Area 4 would be the rest of would be majority of Fair Oaks and going into Orangevale and Citrus Heights. Area 5, Orangevale, Gold River. Area 6, kind of Orangevale and Citrus Heights divide, and then Area 7 would just be Citrus Heights. Just one sequencing option on that one. And then finally, the numbers, again, similar to scenarios 1 and 3 in the 7-member options with the same demographics. So I know I talked a lot about maps and communities, but I'd certainly be happy if there's any questions or any clarification I can provide on the maps or any of the implications of any of the maps. I'd certainly be happy to answer that.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Just for awareness, the order of business will be as you present it to us. We'll do a quick round of questions if we have any for the four of us and for Mr. Hernandez on the phone. Then I will officially open up a public hearing for public comment at that time. I just wanted folks to know what the plan was. At this time, I'll turn it to my colleagues on the dais and on the phone. Are there any comments or questions at this time? Mr. Hernandez, we'll go ahead and start with you.
Sure. One quick question. Larry, on 5-3, you mentioned that Citrus Heights could not have a board member because of the size of Citrus Heights. Can you elaborate on that very quickly for me, please?
Sure. So on the 5-member options, the population within Citrus Heights is too large to be one trustee area alone. So while we have one trustee area that consists solely of Citrus Heights, Citrus Heights fills up that bucket, and then there's a little bit left over for some other trustee areas to pick up. And so that's the reasoning there. If we were to put all of Citrus Heights just in one trustee area, we'd be out of compliance with the equal population rule that we're required to follow.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate the clarification.
Sure. Ms. Costa. Ms. Costa, do you mind turning your mic on? Thank you.
The question I had, I really want to thank you for the wide variety of options, and it provided an entire day of time analyzing all of them. But I discovered by the number of phone calls and emails that I had received that the community was doing the same thing and had strong feelings in all sorts of different directions. So you have really provided food for thought and conversation. I really like the fact that the city of Citrus Heights and Arden Arcade have trustee areas on the maps. That met one of my interests. Another of my interests were the high schools, and you did a great job of making sure that the high schools were in each trustee area, at least one. As I looked at the maps, I wrote all sorts of questions about why this, not that. And then I turned the page. I got smarter as I went through this and looked at the data, and I realized, oh, if you move this, then this is going to cause this area to change. And so it really helped my thinking as I started going through the information. But the city of Citrus Heights was the one that kept sticking in my mind. Why couldn't they be together? And as I realized, the numbers just didn't work out. So thank you very much for your work.
You're welcome.
Ms. Creason.
Thank you for the rundown. I'm going to do a lot more listening than talking tonight. But I do have one question for now. Can you tell me what is the percentage in population concentration to get to the protected class amount where you could call it a protected class district? I know I'm not saying any of that right, but what is that magic number?
Sure. So if we wanted to back into this, if we were living in an ideal world where people, were congregated a certain way, if we could get to 50% or greater of a particular protected class, then we would call that a majority minority district.
Got it.
That's not possible. So then the next criteria is, can we get to a plurality where the protected class represents the largest group, but not a majority? And again, that's not possible. Then we even look at, can we create an area where you have a coalition district? That's what those are sometimes called, where you look at the protected classes, group them together, and are they large enough to create an area that would be either a majority or plurality? And again, that's not possible here either. So there's no majority minority, there's no plurality, and there's no coalition district that is possible.
Thank you.
Dr. McKibben.
Thank you for the diversity of these maps. They are interesting to look at and to try to figure out the numbers and so forth. And what do you think? I'm going to ask mostly procedural and nitpicky kinds of things. For example, the street that is east of Sunrise, that is Fair Oaks, right? I believe that's the only one of the large streets that's not marked. Am I correct in that?
Testing me here.
I'm looking at several of, let me talk about 5-1 and 5-3, I think, both.
Sure. 5-1, okay.
And 7-4. If you look at the street that is just east of Sunrise, I think that's Fair Oaks, but it's the only one that's not marked of the major streets.
Mr. Hernandez, sorry to interrupt, Dr. McKibben, but Mr. Hernandez, you might have your papers really close to your microphone.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I apologize.
No apology necessary. Just wanted to flag. It's making it a little difficult to hear. Dr. McKibben, please continue. Sorry to interrupt.
For example, on 7 scenario 4, that's the easiest one for me because it's the one I have up.
Okay, I'm looking at that.
That one.
Maybe you can direct me a little bit to where you're looking at the
Okay.
maps. I'm sorry.
7-4.
Okay.
Look at Sunrise and look directly to the east of
I
Sunrise.
see what you're saying.
There's a boundary between just to the west. There's a street just to the west of Bella Vista, and I think that's Fair Oaks.
I'm pretty certain it is too.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's what.
Sorry.
Okay, but that, because it's the border on several of the boundaries, and I wanted to make sure, and I was making sure that I was correct in that.
We'll go ahead and make sure that gets labeled on a revised
Okay.
version.
Now, on many, I think we talked about this the last time a bit. Am I correct that in terms of the ways the boundaries are laid out, the voters on, for example, that are on any of these boundary streets, like using 7-4 again, that are on Greenback Lane or there would be voters on one side of the street that would be in one trustee district and voters on the other side of the street that would be in a different trustee district.
Yeah. If we're using the streets as the dividing line, then yes, you would have folks on different sides of the street in different voting areas.
Okay, and that's common through, but it is a standard practice that they would be divided by the street, and people literally living across the street from each other would be in different trustee districts.
Yes, and what we try to do is we try to stick to the major roads where possible, where you don't have, you have a larger road, so it doesn't seem like they're necessarily neighbors per se. But yeah, we do have to find those dividing lines, and occasionally we have to go into neighborhoods and do that where people are right across the street.
A couple of other ones. Let me go back to, I think I could either do it on 7.3 or 7.1. And that is where the high school is in a district. If it is right at the boundary, let me do 7.1 because that one I think is clear.
Okay.
If I can get back to it. And use Casa Roble as the example on Oak Avenue. Is Casa Roble in Trustee Area 7 or Trustee Area 6, the way that is positioned there?
I believe it is on the north side of Oak Avenue, and I'm going to look up for.
It is on the north side of Oak Avenue, so it would be on that. So it would be in Trustee 7.
Yeah, I was phoning a friend on that one.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Thank you, Dr. McKibben. And I think just in general, particularly as these go out, especially just Fair Oaks in particular, it gets a little winding and sometimes in parts turns into winding way and then reverts back. So
Okay.
I think it would be helpful to have that noted throughout. I don't have a question so much as I want to ensure understanding. So my back of the napkin math indicates that while as you just explained, we couldn't mathematically, majority minority district didn't shape out because of how the numbers in the different populations lay out. But it looks as if the closest we got was perhaps almost a 44% minority representation in scenario 3 of 7. Just in general, were you able to kind of take a look and see which one had the most? I know we were looking at pluralities and you mentioned a couple of other groupings as well.
Yeah, the area consistently that has the highest concentration of protected classes, it would be the south of Marconi, west of Watt area that you see in scenarios 7.1, 7.3, and 7.4. That would be where that percentage, as you said, is about 56% white, and so it's about 44% non-white in terms of citizen voting age population, and that's the highest in any of the scenarios that we've created.
And can you repeat just one more time the distinction between the total population and the CVAP numbers here? You did at the outset, but I would appreciate just one more explanation. Thank you.
Total population, we're using the 2010 census data, and we're dividing the district into five or 7 areas of equal population based on the total population. That has to be our kind of North Star as we divide into equal areas. Citizen voting age population is being utilized for Federal Voting Rights Act purposes to ensure that we're not doing anything to inhibit members of protected classes from being able to influence outcome of elections. And we're not seeing in your district or areas of real high, dense concentration of large groups of people that would be protected classes. It's easier to see in other districts that we've worked with where you see a large, very concentrated area of Latino citizen voting age population. And so we look at that CVAP number so we don't go right down the middle of that community and divide it into 2 voting areas and dilute their voting strength. Again, we don't have that here. We have a very dispersed population within the whole community. So it's a little less easy to see in the numbers and even on the maps than when you see it so clearly in some areas.
Thank you for that additional context. And then to the extent that you can you just offer a little bit of information about the data being used, the census data, how detailed it does or does not get, and then to the best, I don't want to ask you to speculate, but any potential distinctions between, of course, the 2010 data and the, data that we still don't have from 2020.
Sure. So I thank you for asking that question because it reminds me of something I should have said at the beginning, which is what we did. And my colleague who was here at the last meeting probably shared with you the population estimates that we had from that third party data provider. So we're using the 2010 census data because that's what we're required to use to balance these areas until we get the 2020 census data. We received and utilized the population estimates from that third party provider. It's called Geolytics. And what we did to try to minimize, hopefully, the amount of changes that would occur after the census is we made sure that these areas are balanced both on 2010 data as well as on the 2020 population estimate data from that third party provider. So when you look at the maps that are online, you'll see there's 4 tables on the page of charts, and you'll see total population, and then you'll see the Geolytics population, and you'll see the rough totals there, and you'll see the population variance. And so we're within 10% on both of those population metrics. We had to go a little bit higher on one than the other in order to make that work. But that was one thing that we did to try to minimize the amount of changes that we might see once that new census data is released, which hopefully will be in mid to late August.
I appreciate your optimism.
As somebody told me today, nothing's gone wrong with the federal government in the last 18 months, so why would this go wrong? So that's just something to keep in mind.
I won't offer any other colorful comments. We'll just leave it at that. I'm going to do just one more quick check with my colleagues. Any other questions or comments for now? Mr. Hernandez? Any?
No, wait. None, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the presentation. At this
Thank
time,
you.
we'll move to the public hearing. I declare the topic of the proposed maps for potential composition of trustee areas a public hearing, and it is now open for public comment. We do have speaker cards for this item, and I'd like to remind the public that comments are limited to 2 minutes. The clock on the wall will count down the time. Give us just a moment to have it pulled up. And I'm going to pull up our list as well. I believe first up, so in general, I will call our speaker and then indicate who will follow just so that next person can be prepared. So we have first in order of signups, we have Mr. Juan Iniguez, followed by Amy Kasuni. Mr. Iniguez, please join us.
Good evening. I'm sure you're tired and I'm tired. It's been a long haul on this, but I'm glad we're making progress. I did want to comment on a few statements made last board meeting because I think it helps us all collectively think about what some myths or what some misstatements might be. They're focusing on some of the comments made by board members and a few of the supporters recruited by a board member at the July 1 special meeting. One statement that I would just like to focus on is the comment, which was correct, that research is inconclusive about whether a 5-member or 7 board member is more effective. My reaction to that is very simple. If that's so, then let's stop suggesting otherwise. Number 2, the comment was made, if it's not broken, why fix it? Apparently for those commenters, very low academic performances in the district aren't enough to show how broken the district really is. A third misstatement is 7-member districts are dysfunctional. Dissent and disagreement are good for democracy. It's been my experience that this board likes to believe and think that groupthink is a good way to go. I firmly disagree. This notion that groupthink is the way to go is followed by some twisted logic that says that if you have 5 board members representing 330,000 community members, that makes more sense than 7 members, each of whom would primarily be accountable to their own districts of approximately 50,000 residents. I just don't understand how the math works out if you stay with 5 as opposed to going to 7. I also wanted to point out, well, we've got the support of various community groups. I won't mention them now.
Thank you,
but,
Mr. Iniguez.
I'll send them in, and then please do the right thing, create 7 districts. Thank you.
And next up, we have Amy Kasuni, followed by Michelle Wright.
Good evening, Board. I'm Amy Kasuni from the San Juan Community Action Network. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you tonight. I support a move to 7 board members. The San Juan Community Action Network is not alone in its call for 7 board members. The City Council of Citrus Heights unanimously passed a resolution in support. Additionally, Councilmember Eric Guerra, LULAC, Latinos Unidos, San Juan Parent Association, the Bonito Juarez Neighborhood Association, and the San Juan Recall Group all support a move to 7. Further, at the last meeting of this board, the only people who spoke in favor of 5 districts were either employees, relatives of employees, or recently retired union reps whose testimony must be seen as flawed with clear financial bias. Interestingly, the best argument these individuals posed was concern regarding reaching consensus. This logic too is flawed. As history shows us, one of our greatest presidents, Lincoln, held in his cabinet a team of rivals, recognizing that lively debate is the bedrock of a free and fair society. Finally, I realize there is a push to get these maps finalized for legal purposes, but for the legal matter to be moot, the district must have approved maps that eliminated polarized voting. A few proposed maps have Encina and Rio represented by 1 board member. This scenario would not eliminate polarized voting because it's more than just race. Also of legal concern, it's noteworthy that the maps we are looking at tonight must have been drawn before the pre-map hearing. At least one was printed at 5 a.m. the very next morning. This would be out of compliance with state voting right law. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kasuni. Next, we have Michelle Wright, followed by Michael Seaman.
Hi, good evening. My name is Michelle Wright. I'm a former student, current resident, and hopefully future parent in SJUSD. I'm here tonight to urge you to adopt a 7 trustee map that creates most, if not all, of Citrus Heights as one trustee area and West Arden Arcade with the inclusion of and reach into part of North Highlands as another trustee area. After research and review, 7 trustee area conceptual scenario 4 would be the best option with those fixes. For the last 30 years, these 2 areas have not been represented or have not had representation on the board, and student outcomes are suffering because of it. They need strong representation to make changes needed for a quality education for all. And Dr. McKibben, I'd like to address some comments you made during the last board meeting. You mentioned you spent a lot of time traveling through the district and visiting various schools across it. While I appreciate your efforts to educate yourself in order to make good policy decisions, I do have to say that it is still insufficient to address the needs of students in areas outside of the community that you reside. It is important to have representatives on the board who actually live in those communities, and specifically historically, politically excluded communities, because they have personal lived experience that cannot be replaced through just education alone. So additionally, having diverse voices will benefit everyone. It is through varying viewpoints and perspectives that we can find best practices and craft better policies. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Michael Seaman, followed by Kevin Fernandez.
Thank you, board members. I'm Michael Seaman, a resident of Arden Arcade since 1978. I applaud what you're trying to do. I know you're under time deadline, and it's kind of difficult to get to use the 2010 census data when the 2020 is way more appropriate. For example, Arden Arcade had 92,000 people in 2010, and I'm thinking it's going to be more like 108,000, maybe more than that in 2020. And that does not count the homeless people that live there. So anyway, I think what the mistake that you've made, I like the 7 districts better than the 5, but the mistake that you've made is to orient them around your high schools. What you should be doing is orienting them around the population and where the needs are. And the place that's been ignored for so long is West Arden Arcade. So you should really start by saying, here are the existing jurisdictions that aren't going to change, and that's the city of Sacramento boundary. You've got some pieces of the city of Sacramento, and the city of Citrus Heights boundary. You've got all of Citrus Heights, or almost all of Citrus Heights. So what you need to do is to take those two as givens, and then your other given should be West Arden Arcade Environmental Justice Area, because of the demographics are dreadful compared to the rest of your district. So you should be basing it on population and taking into account where the cities, where's the environmental justice area, and also where are the park districts, because the parks are your partners. We all know that's where kids go after when school's out, they go to the parks. So if you go in population alone, Arden Arcade should have 2+ trustees, and Citrus Heights should have 2. So I would really like to see you get away from your high school orientation. You're not a high school district, you're a unified school district. And I thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Seaman. Next up, we have Kevin Fernandez, followed by Carolina Flores.
Hello and good evening. My name is Kevin Fernandez, and I am a resident of Arden Arcade, and I am imploring the district to adopt the 7 trustee area configuration, specifically the conceptual scenario number 4. And with the following feedback, actually. So we're trying to keep Citrus Heights together as much as possible and also extend trustee area 1 towards Northern Highlands. I think these 2 areas have historically lacked representation on the school board, thus exacerbating some of the educational equity gaps that we've seen that has profound impact on student performance and outcomes. So if you could just please take these changes and also impose these changes onto those district maps, that'd be great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next up, we have Carolina Flores, followed by Magali Kincaid. Ms. Flores, will you require the use of a translator tonight? Okay.
I'm presenting for Scott Rafferty, our attorney for the California Voting Rights Act claim that we have against you, San Juan Unified School District. It is a travesty to rush to beat the 2020 census data only 4 weeks away, just to prevent SCOE from reviewing the real map. You are ignoring the need of public input. You won't even post more than 85 written comments, but we have posted every one, even the few defending 5 trustees on neighborhoodelections.com. Your draft maps prove that San Juan needs 7 trustees to represent the areas that have not had residents serve on the board for many years. 7 trustees also provide greater diversity of viewpoint and life experience, which increases the board's capacity. We know the trustee areas promote equity for neighborhoods that need extra help. That's essential when the B says that San Juan has some of the state's most segregated schools, and better accountability benefits all areas. As authentic representatives accountable to their neighbors, Folsom, Cordova's new area trustees had true authority to make difficult decisions. They now have all the students back in person learning at the earliest possible time. Scenario 7.4 may be a basis for an acceptable maps, and once you have the 2020 data. Area 1 still needs to honor President Villasquez's concerns about income inequality within the Arden Arcade. On each of the 14 socioeconomic measures, we mapped for you last March 6 of the 7 block groups in Sierra Oaks and Sierra Oaks Vista are very different from the rest of Area 1. The sheriff's map of high need neighborhoods also stops at Northrop. These high turnout, high income blocks should be removed. According to your demographer, Area 1 has grown since the last census at 4 times the rate of other areas, but he disregarded your instructions and did not build in any growth. Traditional criteria also uses a 10% population leeway to make the remedial area smaller and more distinct. But this was not even on your list of options. If Area 1 needs any more population, it should add from north of Marconi. Didn't get to say anything about Citrus Heights.
Thank
Sorry,
you, Ms.
Citrus
Flores.
Heights.
Thank you. Next up, we have Magali Kincaid.
Hello, my name is Magali Kincaid, and I'm a mother of 3 children in the School District. I appreciate the district's drawing maps, 7 trustee area maps. Appreciate that. And I also appreciate the recent efforts that you're making to notify community about the transition to trustee areas and gather input. I received your phone call, your emails, and your postcard. But I'm incredibly concerned that the district believes one-way communication is community engagement. The district holds the responsibility for communicating with the utmost transparency to the community, their considerations and reasons for their decisions about their programs, spending, and this trustee process. How was and will the specific community feedback be used in drafting and updating these maps? What will each board member consider in making a decision about what map to support and why? Why have you not reinstated Zoom as an option? Why are the community meetings not being recorded and shared openly? What did the district consider in choosing the various schools for the community meetings? Parents and community members want to have these conversations with you and make decisions that affect our children in partnership. But this cannot happen unless the district is willing to lower the walls and communicate honestly and openly and build trust. The district has made many decisions without accountability, and the consequences of these decisions are being felt by many low-income, Black, Brown, Native, and English language learners, unhoused students across the district, including those in West Arden Arcade and Citrus Heights. This is by design, not coincidence. One way to begin to make change is to expand the board to adopt a trustee map with 7 trustees and make sure that scenario 4 is adopted with 2 changes. Expand trustee area 1 towards North Highlands and ensure that Citrus Heights gets what the voice that they need and want.
Thank you, Ms. Kincaid. Next up, we have David Hawkins, and he is our last one listed. So if others wish to speak at this time, please visit our speaker card area in the back.
Thank you, Board. David Hawkins from Fair Oaks. I just ran some numbers because Mr. Hernandez's chart I thought was very helpful last week. Wish we had a copy of it, but I ran the percentages for the population for both based on the 2010 census, as well as the projected numbers from the data collection group. And it's interesting to me that a 5-member board versus a 7-member board, each of the board members on a 5-member board would represent 40% more people than a 7-member board. So roughly a 5-member board, you're going to represent close to 65,000 members. Whereas a 7-member, it's roughly 46,000. And the numbers are comparable. It's 40% both ways, whether you do it on the projected numbers based on the current data or on the 2010 census. And it just seems very dramatic to me, a 40% differential between having a 5 or a 7-member board. And just wanted to pass it on. Thank you.
Thank you. That was the final speaker card for visitor comment. So at this time, we're going to go to written comments. I do believe we have some written comments. Ms. Rye, will you please begin by reading the written comments?
Certainly, President Vasquez. Our first comment is from Lisa Pelletier, who writes, I urge the board members to vote for a map that includes 7 trustees, increasing the number of SJUSD board members from 5 to 7. I prefer the map titled 7 Trustee Areas, Conceptual Scenario 3, but I would accept any of the 7 trustee maps. Our next comment is from Hillary Auer, who writes, I would like to urge the board members to please vote for a map that includes 7 trustees, which will increase the number of SJUSD board members from 5 to 7. I prefer the map titled 7 Trustee Areas, Conceptual Scenario 3, but I would also accept any of the 7 trustee maps. Thank you very much for your time and attention to this matter. Our next comment comes from Jessica Herron. I want the board members to vote for a map that includes 7 trustees. This would increase the board members from 5 to 7. I would prefer the 7 Trustee Area Conceptual Scenario 3. However, any of the 7 trustee maps will do. Our next comment is from Anonymous. There is no name. I would like a variety of representation, but I am quite concerned about the push of rich white parents to monopolize the process. How likely is it to truly get more representation on the school board? What I see happening is parents of means and privilege trying to take over the board and enact what they think is right for the kids, but not for all kids. What is right for their kids, but not all kids. All the maps have areas of high-income neighborhoods. These are the more likely places to gain representation. So what's the point? Aren't we just wasting a bunch of money to add 2 more board members but not gain broader or more diverse representation? I wish all these helpful white parents would take a seat and actually listen to diverse voices. And please, can Tom Nelson just stop harassing every parent group, student group, and community group? Our next comment comes from Kevin Pelletier. I strongly support following law requiring 7 trustees for a district of this size. Furthermore, the law should be followed where the trustees reside in the districts they represent. These laws were implemented for a reason. Anything less is rogue corruption. I'm entering my actual address where I live, unlike Paula Villasquez's false statement of residency. Our next comment comes from Deborah Fairs. I would like Citrus Heights to be represented on the board. Next, we have Sarah Kemp, who writes, we'd like the board to vote for a map that includes 7 board members, increasing the board by 2 members. Our next comment is from Angelina Woodbury. The 7 trustee areas concept scenario 1 is the only map proposed that takes into consideration the social and economic diversity of San Juan Unified. Oftentimes, the far west end of the district seems to be forgotten about and not adequately represented. This map allows the area that serves Encina, Greer, Howe Avenue, and Edison to have a voice on the board. That is long overdue. The issues impacting this area are not the same as ones impacting their neighbors on the other side of Watt Avenue. I urge the board to adopt this map as the official trustee boundary area. Our next comment is from Ashley Doyle, who writes, I urge the board members to vote for a map which included 7 trustees, increasing the number of SJUSD board members from 5 to 7. I prefer the map titled 7 Trustee Areas Conceptual Scenario 3, but I would accept any of the 7 trustee maps. Next, we have James Doyle, who writes, I urge the board members to vote for a map that includes 7 trustees, increasing the number of SJUSD board members from 5 to 7. I prefer the map titled 7 Trustee Areas Conceptual Scenario 3, but I would accept any of the 7 trustee maps. Next, we have Renee Reach. I urge the board to vote for a map that includes 7 trustees, increasing the board members from 5 to 7. I believe in order to have a truly diverse board, every area needs a voice on the board. Next, we have Raquel Luce. I urge the board members to vote for a map that includes 7 trustees, increasing the number of SJUSD board members from 5 to 7. I prefer the map titled 7 Trustee Areas Conceptual Area 3, but I would accept any of the 7 trustees maps. Next, we have Amber Busby, who writes, I am happy that the district is moving forward with the implementation of by-trustee elections and area maps that are more equitable across communities within San Juan. I wholeheartedly support the map for Scenario 3, which would not displace Zima Creason, an advocate for true equity in San Juan, from representation if re-elected under the new district lines. Next, we have a comment from Carol Myers, who writes, regarding the issue of revising board member elections, I definitely support changing how a school board member is elected. Electing board members by the area where they reside is a smart move. While board members currently represent the entire district, they are not always aware of regional issues and opinions and feelings. SJUSD is a large, diverse district, so its leaders need to represent and understand the needs and concerns of the various areas. Next, we have Christine Bailey, who writes, I am a member of the community in the San Juan School District. I urge you to support the change of having representatives for neighborhood. I ask that you adopt maps of 7 representatives and keep as many as you can to Citrus Heights as a neighborhood with their own representative, and to include North Highlands in the Western Arden Arcade map with their own representative. In the past 30 years, these neighbors have not been represented on the school board, and student results suffer. They need strong representatives to make the changes necessary for them to receive quality education. Thank you. Next, we have Laura Kim, who writes, I urge the board members to vote for a map that includes 7 trustees, increasing the number of board members from 5 to 7. I prefer the map titled 7 Trustee Area Conceptual Scenario 3, but I will accept any of the 7 trustee maps. Next, we have Chelsea McKiernan, who writes, I urge the board to create a map with 7 trustees, encouraging SJUST to go from 5 to 7 members. Next, we have Yana Wren, who writes, I urge the board members to vote for a map that includes 7 trustees, increasing the number of SJUSD board members from 5 to 7. I prefer the map titled 7 Trustee Areas Conceptual Scenario 1, but I would accept any of the 7 trustee maps. Next comment is from Kelly Connor, who writes, I urge the board members to vote for a map that includes 7 trustees, increasing the number of SJUSD board members from 5 to 7. I prefer the map titled 7 Trustee Areas Conceptual Scenario 3, but I would accept any of the 7 trustee maps. Next, we have Lisa Howard, who writes, I want to support the concept of breaking up San Juan into more localized regions. Please be sure that the maps do not split on socioeconomic boundaries. North Highlands should stay with Arden. Next, we have Angela Snell, who writes, I urge the board members to vote for a map that includes 7 trustees, increasing the number of SJUSD board members from 5 to 7. Next, we have Erica Cantor, who writes, I urge the board members to vote for a map that includes 7 trustees, increasing the number of SJUSD board members from 5 to 7. I prefer the map titled 7 Trustee Areas Conceptual Scenario 3, but I would accept any of the 7 trustee maps. Next, we have Taja Ferrarini, who writes, I think it's imperative we move to 7 board members so that our voices and opinions can be heard better. Next, we have Mark Bennett, who writes, I encourage you to adopt Scenario 3 7 trustee areas. This map supports Citrus Heights as well as other areas that do not currently have board members representing them. Our next comment is from William Becker. Hello, my name is William Becker, and I am a community member and former teacher in San Juan Unified School District. I urge the district to fix 7 trustee area maps, conceptual scenario 4, with the following changes. Keep Citrus Heights together and extend West Arden Arcade, trustee area 1 in the map, up towards North Highlands. For the last 30 years, these 2 areas have not been represented on the school board, and students and student outcomes are suffering because of it. They need strong representation to make the changes for a quality education for all. Our communities have waited long enough. Thank you. Our next comment is from Padres Organized Community, who writes, we understand that some community members feel that the district could do better at addressing the needs of underrepresented if the district switches to representation by area and not by at-large voting. We are of the opinion that the district is not able to address the needs of the underserved because they continue to take on students from underperforming districts, which impacts the district's performance. Many of the underperforming districts in the area vote by area. Our next comment is from Josie Morales, who writes, Hello, my name is Josie Morales. I'm a community member in the San Juan Unified School District. I am here tonight to urge the district to fix 7 trustee area map, conceptual scenario 3 with the following changes. Keep citrus sites together as possible and extend West Arden Arcade, trustee area 1 in the map, up towards North Highlands. For the last 30 years, these 2 areas have not been represented on the school board, and students and student outcomes are suffering because of it. They need strong representation to make the changes needed for a quality education for all. Our communities have waited long enough. It's time to do the right thing. Our next comment comes from Chris Diller. Hi, I am Chris Diller, a member of the community within San Juan Unified School District. I urge you to adopt a 7 trustee map that creates all of Citrus Heights as one trustee area and West Arden Arcade with the inclusion of and reach into part of North Highlands as another trustee area. I feel that this is more important than ever given remote learning for the past year plus. Thank you, Chris Diller. Next, we'll hear from Paula Johnson, who writes, I urge the board to vote for increasing the number of trustees board members to 7. Next comment is from Kim Terrell. And they write, I urge the board members to vote for a map that includes 7 trustees, increasing the number of SJUSD board members from 5 to 7. And it looks like our final comment is from Murad Mo Sarama, who writes, Good evening, Madam President and members of the board. While I could not be there in person tonight, I want to start by thanking Ms. Creason for raising the question of communities of interest after my comments during the last meeting. All communities should be included in the district's data. These communities of interest are not mentioned on the census data reviewed by the demographer, and we hope to see some changes to the data utilizing the internal school district if possible. After reviewing all of the scenarios published and discussed tonight, 7 trustee areas and conceptual map 2 appears to be a reasonable option. While this has a good split for representation, it also allows each member of this great board to stay in different districts. Thank you, Ms. Villasquez, for your leadership, and we look forward to the board to make the right thing. And that is our final submitted written comment.
Thank you very much, Ms. Wright. There being no further public comments at this time, I declare the public hearing closed. At this time, I'll return it to my colleagues for any further discussion or comments. I will first turn to Mr. Hernandez on the phone to see if you have anything you'd like to add at this time.
I just would like to thank the community that have written as well as publicly appeared and expressed their opinion. I took very, very good notes. And again, I appreciate all the input that you've given us. And I look forward to the meetings for the next few days to see what else the committee would like to inform us with. Thank you again.
Thank you, Mr. Hernandez. Ms. Costa.
I also appreciate all of the comments tonight and really want to encourage anybody who's listening on YouTube to come to the community meetings, both tomorrow night and on Thursday night. We really do want to hear what you're thinking. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Costa. Ms. Creason.
I'm still in listening mode and want to get through the next week. But the one question I have, if I remember correctly, we did talk about it at the last meeting about using our internal data to answer some of those questions. Was that considered in these maps?
Mr. Furcha.
I think it was, we did look at some of that data. There's a lot to take in from that information as well as the census data. And it's kind of this push-pull of what to look at first and what's, obviously we got to balance it by population first and foremost. But we can certainly circle back with more of that data with these scenarios and provide some additional information at the next public hearing.
I'd appreciate that because I don't know. I don't do data like you do data. And so I understand that maybe they won't say the same thing for a variety of reasons. One, because we're using 2010 stuff and we're in 2021. Also, I think reporting is a bit different on, census versus schools. But I think it is important for all of us to see that before any decisions are made.
Thank you, Ms. Creason. Dr. McKibben.
I want to thank both those people that came here, as well as those who provided written comments and so forth. I want to encourage people to come out Wednesday and Thursday, either to the three sites each day around the district, as well as the Zoom opportunity that is on both Wednesday and Thursday. These data will be compiled and become so that we can make a decision on the 27th, and we really appreciate your input.
Thank you, Dr. McKibben. And I know some additional data was sent over, recognizing it was a full timeline, but Mr. Kern, do you care to expand?
Yeah, when you first asked that, I'm like, yeah. So we actually got data by each school related to our refugee populations. So what we sent over to them, and I can't speak to what was used, was each school, the number of like EL refugee students and the languages that were in there, because that's kind of what we heard around those community of interest as well. And I think the gentleman that may have made that one comment tonight talked about our communities may interact together at parks or other areas. So that was an additional piece of data that we presented to them.
So do we leave it at just ELL populations, or do we expand that with all of our demographic data? Just ethnicity, racial data.
So I would have to ask what Mr. Furchaw already uses. I have not had any conversations with him about this.
Yeah, I think one of the challenges is we have where the schools are located, and then we have where the students are located as well. So we could certainly inform these maps with information on student populations in terms of concentrations of English language learners or refugee status or anything like that. It's a little bit of apples and oranges in that sense. It's one set of data is looking at residents, and then one set of data is looking at student populations, and probably focusing on where the students reside. And once that information's geocoded, which is just a fancy way of saying putting a dot on a map, we could certainly kind of aggregate that data to provide it to you.
And thank you for the reminder of, open enrollment. Again, what we see as a resident isn't what schools are reporting. So yeah, that does add a layer that I wasn't considering when I asked that question. So thank you. The best we could do.
Thank you all for those who both attended and submitted written comments. I will also just implore the members of our community, again, reminder, it's been mentioned now twice. We have our community meetings coming up that have both an electronic and an in-person option. So we look forward to those taking place. And my last question would actually be in terms of kind of next steps. We'll hold our community meetings. And Mr. Furchaw, I'm wondering if you could speak, not to speculate, but instead just speak a little bit to what changes might be typical after the first round of community meetings. And then perhaps expand on some of the peculiarities of our timeline as well.
Well, I don't think I was taking as good a notes as Mr. Hernandez, but I was taking notes on what folks were saying tonight. So we'll keep that in mind. And obviously with the community input meetings coming up over the next 2 nights, we'll get from the district the additional feedback. Obviously, there's some themes already that we heard through the comments tonight on maps of 7 trustees, and I think looking at the Arden Arcade area and going a little bit farther north. That's something we'll look at, looking at Citrus Heights and looking at ways to put that together a little bit differently. That's just my reflection on what kind of feedback we're hearing. We'll have to see what the numbers are, and if those types of changes are possible. And it's, as I think one of you alluded to, once you change one thing, you change about 6 other things on a 7-person map. So that it all kind of cycles through. But based on our timeline, we have until the 20th to post any revised maps. So that gives the community input meetings that are happening over the next several days, And then we'll work dutifully to try to see if there's any changes that we want to make in response to those and make sure those are posted by the 20th so that the district can consider those at the next public hearing. And the peculiarities of our timeline are just that in order to stay within the safe harbor, the district needs to be completed with its process by a deadline. And that's why we're working under the timeline that we're working under to ensure that the district is within its legal safe harbor to complete this process.
Thank you very much. And all meetings regarding the community meetings, all meetings start at 6:30. And you can find the location of the meetings on our website at www.sanjuan.edu/elections. And just a friendly reminder, since this was a special meeting tonight, there was no opportunity for general visitor comments. General visitor comments will be available at our next regularly scheduled meeting scheduled for August 10th. At this time, we do not have any business to return to for closed session, and there being no further items on the agenda, we are adjourned. Thank you.